indirect, intense. If you frequently talk to yourself, get overwhelmed by the sound of someone chewing, and constantly doubt your own abilities, you don't have a social disorder. Your brain is just processing data at a terrifying speed.
Wait, the chewing sound? You are telling me that getting annoyed by someone eating loudly is a sign of high intelligence?
Analytical. It is not just annoyance, Alex. It is a neurological condition called leaky sensory gating. Northwestern University actually studied this. Explanatory. Most people have a mental filter. Their brain automatically blocks out the ticking clock, the air conditioning, the background chatter. But highly intelligent people often lack that strict filter. Their brain takes everything in.
Realizing. So they are constantly overstimulated.
Empathetic. Exactly. They are not trying to be difficult. Walking down a busy street in downtown Seattle for them is like trying to read a complex book while someone flashes a strobe light in their face. It is sensory overload.
That explains why so many highly capable people I know tend to isolate themselves. They wear noise-canceling headphones everywhere. I always thought they were just being antisocial.
Serious, they are protecting their nervous system. But society misreads these biological survival mechanisms as personality flaws. Take talking to yourself, for instance.
Right. The classic mumbling genius trope.
Passionate. It looks unstable from the outside, but cognitive psychology calls it externalized thinking. Imagine your brain is a supercomputer running 50 demanding programs at once. Eventually, you get a traffic jam of ideas.
So, speaking out loud acts as a pressure release valve.
Authoritative. More like an organizational tool. By forcing thoughts through the physical act of speaking, they turn a chaotic web of abstract concepts into a straight, logical line. Richard Feynman did this constantly. He had to explain things out loud to test the architecture of his own logic.
That is fascinating, but it also sounds incredibly exhausting. To have a brain that simply will not stop connecting dots.
Somber. Exhausting is the perfect word, and it leads to one of the most painful burdens of high IQ, chronic overthinking. We tell people, just make a decision, don't overcomplicate it.
But they literally cannot do that.
Intense. No, they cannot. Neuroscientists look at metacognition, the ability to analyze your own thinking. When a highly intelligent person looks at a simple choice, they do not just see option A or B. They see a massive branching tree of long-term consequences, risks, and historical patterns.
Which leads to analysis paralysis. They freeze.
Explaining. Yes, you ask them a basic question, and they might sit in silence for 10 seconds. To you, it looks like hesitation or low confidence. Inside their head, they just ran 1,000 different simulations to find the safest, most optimal answer. It burns a tremendous amount of mental energy.
It almost sounds like they are trapped by their own capacity. I see this a lot in high performers who suddenly quit everything. They just walk away. Is that burnout from overthinking?
Quiet, dramatic pause. Sometimes it is burnout, but more often it is profound boredom.
Boredom? But they are doing complex work.
Factual complex to us, not to them. Their brain has a much higher threshold for dopamine release when it comes to intellectual tasks. They might dive into a new project, learn the underlying mechanics in weeks, and the second they solve the puzzle, the dopamine stops.
Connecting the dots. So once the mystery is gone, the motivation is completely gone.
Defensive of the behavior instantly, and society labels them as undisciplined or says they lack grit. but it is actually a biological signal. The brain is saying, I am underfed. Find me harder problems. This is why highly intelligent people often have incredibly erratic career paths.
They are not chasing money. They are chasing novelty.
Serious, they are chasing the high of cognitive friction. Without it, they disconnect. They will stare out a window for hours just to escape a mundane task.
Which brings me to something that always baffled me. If these people process data so fast, why are they almost always the ones suffering from imposter syndrome? Why do they doubt themselves while the least competent people are completely full of confidence?
Philosophical. The Dunning-Kruger effect. It is a brutal paradox. Intelligence acts like a spotlight in a dark cave. The brighter the light, the more of the massive, terrifying darkness you can actually see.
So an average mind only sees the small area illuminated. They think that is the whole world.
Intense, reflective, exactly. But the genius sees how immense the unknown is. They see the flaws in their own logic. They understand how fragile human theories really are. So when someone praises them, their internal reaction is, are you blind? Can you not see all the things I still do not know?
That has to be incredibly isolating. You achieve something great, and instead of feeling proud, you feel like a fraud because it felt too easy for your brain.
Sadness, clinical tone. And because it felt easy, they assume everyone else can do it too. They severely underestimate their relative value. It is heartbreaking, honestly. Clinical psychology sees this constantly.
Let's talk about their environment. You mentioned noise earlier. I read somewhere that high IQ individuals are overwhelmingly night owls. Is that a myth or reality?
Informative. It is statistically backed. Satoshi Kanazawa at the London School of Economics proved it. It goes back to evolutionary novelty. Our early ancestors were hardwired to wake with the sun for basic survival.
So deciding to stay awake into the dark requires overriding a biological instinct?
Calm, descriptive, yes, it shows a higher level of cognitive adaptation. But practically speaking, the night is quiet. There are no social expectations, no emails, no construction noise outside. For a brain that suffers from leaky sensory gating, 2 a.m. is the only time it feels safe to fully unpack.
Realization. They are not staying up watching random videos. They are finally breathing.
Assertive, exactly. The subconscious begins connecting scattered pieces. This ties into another habit that people hate, active procrastination. Highly intelligent people are notorious for waiting until the absolute last minute.
Okay, hold on. Procrastination? We have been told our entire lives that procrastination is the enemy of success.
Questioning. Passive procrastination is laziness. Active procrastination is a strategic incubation period. Think of Leonardo da Vinci. He took 16 years to finish the Mona Lisa. Was he lazy?
No, he was obsessed with anatomy and optics during that time.
Enthusiastic, right. He was gathering data. High IQ individuals need that incubation time. While it looks like they are playing a video game or pacing around the room, their subconscious is running incredibly complex simulations. They are waiting until the solution is 90% cooked in their mind.
Understanding. And then they execute it flawlessly in a fraction of the normal time.
Clinical but admiring, yes. They also rely on the time pressure to trigger an adrenaline spike, which forces them into a flow state. It is rough on their nervous system, but it yields breakthrough results that slow, steady work never could.
This completely reframes how we look at productivity. But what about the basic stuff? I know a brilliant engineer who can code complex algorithms in his sleep, but he forgets where he parked his car every single day. Why?
Deadpan, ruthless optimization.
Ruthless.
Analytical working memory has a finite capacity. To maintain high-level abstract thinking, the brain has to prioritize. Everyday details, where you left your keys, what groceries to buy, are classified as low-value data. The brain aggressively discards it to keep RAM open for heavy analytical processing.
So they are not absent-minded. Their mind is just fully occupied elsewhere.
Validating, exactly. They remember highly structured logical systems perfectly. But isolated repetitive facts are trashed. It is actually a highly evolved resource management system.
Challenging a stereotype. There is a massive stereotype, though. We picture geniuses as cold, calculating, almost robotic. People like Sherlock Holmes, lacking empathy.
Passionate correction. That is the biggest myth of all. In reality, clinical psychology proves the exact opposite. Have you ever heard of Dabrowski's theory of overexcitabilities?
No, I haven't.
Deeply earnest. High intellectual potential is almost always paired with extreme emotional sensitivity. Their central nervous system is highly responsive. They do not just think deeply, they feel deeply. A simple piece of music, a tragic news story, or perceiving injustice can physically ache them.
So that cold exterior is what? A shield?
Empathetic soft tone. It is armor. Because they analyze details so sharply, they easily detect a lie, a hidden pain in someone's voice, or a manipulative intent. If they let all that emotional data in, they would collapse. They withdraw to protect themselves from absolute emotional overload.
That is incredibly heavy. To see the world that clearly and feel it that intensely, all at once.
Uplifting, pivotal. It is a heavy crown, but it brings us to the final undeniable trait of a brilliant mind. It is not their IQ score. It is what psychology calls the need for cognition.
Endless curiosity.
Inspired, endless, unforgiving, insatiable curiosity. They never accept a simple answer. They always want to know the mechanics behind the mechanics. Einstein said he had no special talent, only passionate curiosity.
We usually think of Einstein saying that as just false humility.
Profound, it wasn't. He knew that raw processing power means nothing if you aren't pointing it at the unknown. A truly intelligent person never thinks they know everything. They maintain the wonder of a child staring at the universe.
Knowledge is a journey, not a destination.
Directly addressing the audience, precisely. So if you are listening to this right now, dissecting the human mind with us, that alone is a massive indicator of your cognitive depth. The average mind does not seek to understand itself on this level.
It is a wild realization. If you feel isolated because you think too much, feel too much, or need absolute silence just to function, you are not broken. You just have a high-performance engine running in a world that operates on bicycles.
Warm, affirming. I could not have phrased it better myself. The burden is real, but it is the cost of carrying one of humanity's greatest gifts.